Hey there, how are you all doing? We have a whopping trifecta of students in the classroom. If you're not in the classroom and you're joining us via Zoom, you're not there yet because I haven't let you in. Let me do that. We are going live on Facebook and YouTube, and I'm late today. I'm actually not late, but I'm late. I'm getting set up though, so we're not really late. It's 10 a.m. right now. I feel like I'm late because I got a late start, and I'm going to blame it on my dog Lucy. Do you remember Lucy, my dog? So my wife went on a trip to Kansas yesterday to visit with an old friend, and she left me and Lucy home alone. Lucy's very needy. She's a very needy machine. So I did have to take care of Lucy this morning, which made me a little bit late. Good to see you guys. Hey, Aiden, how you doing? Good. Okay, we're going to start. This week we're going to talk about bargaining and negotiating. So we've got a full house in Zoom. Can you guys hear me? Looking at the chat. You guys are signing in, telling me what time you got here. Thank you. Can you hear me? Thanks, Jose. I appreciate it. Cool. Awesome. Okay, today we're gonna talk about bargaining and negotiating. It's 10:01 a.m., so we're not really quite ready to start because we have to wait for everybody who's late, right? Today I don't feel so bad because I'm a little late. So we're gonna do three things today. Three things. One, we're going to the topic is bargaining and negotiating. So we're going to spend some time talking about the rules, boundaries, and limitations related to bargaining and negotiating. And I'm going to share probably about 7 of my favorite key essential elements of bargaining and negotiating. We're going to set the table, talk about why it's important, why it relates to personal finance. So that's the big idea today. Bargaining and negotiating. Your homework assignment will involve learning a little bit more about bargaining and negotiating, and you'll do a little homework related to that. So that's number 1, is the lesson. Number 2 is I'm going to review what's coming in the remaining weeks in the course. We're over halfway through the semester, aren't we? Would you say about halfway through? I feel like we're on this is week number 8, right? No, this is week number 7, but still there are only like 13 weeks in this syllabus. So anyway, we're going to do that. I'm going to talk about what's coming and review what's coming so you have an idea so you can set your brain to the future. And then number 3, I want to go over some student questions. So we'll do that. I don't know what order we'll do that, but it is now 10:03 a.m. So I'm assuming that, man, we have more people in the waiting room. Okay, so I just invited or admitted another 11 folks in the waiting room. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm not sure what order. What order do you want to go in? You want to do student questions first? You want to do the review of what's coming first? Or you want to jump right into today's lesson on bargaining and negotiating? I see 4 people in the room, so you get to vote first if you want.
I mean, I see a question for email.
Yeah. Tell me your name. Obi. Yes, you did. And what did I reply to your email when you asked me a question in email? Yeah, let's talk about it in class. So that was and is and will be my response to most questions that I'm getting. I'm getting inundated with email questions. This last lesson, you'll see why. I got a bunch of questions that really should be answered in class. So I'm going to answer some of those common questions. I'm not going to show which student asked the question. But here's the deal for student questions. I'm going to ask you to help me help you. And so we're going to spend a little time talking about student questions. Not just which questions were already asked, but how we're going to deal with those questions moving forward. And here's why it's important to have this conversation today. because as we move forward, we're going to be more and more engaged in the financial planning portal, and that's where I'm seeing the majority of questions come from. And so we need a better system to make sure that you're getting your questions answered in a timely and efficient fashion. So we're going to have a conversation about that, because I can't commit to you to answer the questions you send me at 1 a.m. that are already discussed in class, which is what's happening on a pretty regular basis. So some questions I see really should be on me to answer, and I want to make sure I do that. But a majority of the questions I think you guys can answer for yourself, and so we'll talk about that. So, and the other one is we're going to review the course, what's coming. It's time to get started. It is now 10:05. I'm going to admit anyone who's waiting in the waiting room. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm not going to pay attention to the waiting room, so if there are any students who come after this into the Zoom meeting, you will have to watch it on YouTube and the Facebook. Or is it Facebook and the YouTube? How you guys doing? Good. So let's do questions. Do you guys have any questions? Obi, tell me your question.
So, when I was on BayRock, I tried to click the debt tab, and every time I clicked it, said we're experiencing technical difficulties. Try again or something.
So I'm looking for your question. I made a list of questions, and let me pull yours up. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. So my question is, anyone else experiencing technical difficulties? Because you're the only student that raised that question. So I'm looking into the chat. If you're in the Zoom chat, I'm asking you a question. I would like for you to answer yes or no immediately now, so I know you're paying attention. Are you experiencing any technical difficulties when you log into your BayRock planning portal? And I'm just specifically asking, are you getting the error technical difficulties? No, 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 no. Okay, so far no one else is getting that. So my suspicion is when you have when you get a message like that, what would you normally do? And this is for you on Zoom too. This is an important question, not just for this specific example, but in general, in terms of just functioning with a computer or a device, whether it's an iPhone, an iPad, a laptop. What would you do typically? What are 3 things you would do if you get a message like that on any platform on the internet? What would you do first? Refresh. Absolutely. And when you say refresh, tell me what you mean by refresh. How do you refresh? Do you just go get a drink of water? Do you take Lucy, your dog, for a walk? What does that mean? How do you refresh? Refresh the page. Did you try that?
Yeah, I tried different browsers as well.
Sweet. So those are the things I would do. Obi said he refreshed. He tried different browsers. Did you clear your cache? Did not clear the cache. So that's the next thing. I'm looking, clear cache and cookies if that doesn't work. So Ariel, that's what I would say. So if you send me an email, and if I have time to reply to it, if it's an issue that I'm getting for sure, if I get 2 or 3 or 4 questions like that, I'm gonna be concerned. But with one question, I don't have time to stop and look to see, do we really have a technical issue? My response would be, and my response is today, if you have this question now or in the future, refresh, clear your cache, clear your cookies, and then try again. Another thing I would suggest is just wait a little while. I don't know why. We were using a lot of technology these days, and with BayRock Portal, there's a lot of technology involved, and sometimes you get that message. Most of the time, it's because of something on your system, and I get that every once in a while myself. And usually if I wait, if I refresh, and if that doesn't work, I clear my cache, and that typically solves the problem. So do all those things, and then if you're having technical difficulty and you've done all those things and you can't get it resolved, then I would appreciate if you send me an email with as much information, because I'm going to have to call my tech team and I'm going to say, here's the plan we're working on and here's the issue we're having. And they're going to ask me, what do you think they're going to ask me? Yeah, they're first going to say, did you do this, this, and this? And I'm going to say yes, because I will have already had to confirm that with you before I call my tech team and start running the clock on their services. So then what do you think they're going to ask me, which I need to be able to answer to them? Have you ever asked for service on a technical issue online with a app? What do they usually ask you, Aiden? A bunch of random, useless questions, which now I'm in the middle of your situation and the questions my tech team are asking me to try to solve the problem. So, my tech team doesn't like it when I give them students, when I give their email to you. So I have to do that, either me or someone on my team, and I'm happy to do that. But here's the number one question my tech team always wants to know. They want to know, what device are you using? Is it up to date? And what were you doing when you got the technical issue? Because if there's something specifically you were trying to do in your plan, that's very key to the tech team, okay? So I don't know the answer. I never know the answer to this question, by the way. So you can send me an email, but that's what's going to happen is I'm going to have to start asking you a bunch of questions. And this week I got so many emails, I just wouldn't have had time. So do that. And that's really one of the things I wanted to highlight in terms of student questions. So before I go into the rest of the things I want to highlight, I want to ask you a question. And I'm going to let those of you who are here today in the classroom be the first to respond, but I really want to hear from you on Zoom as well. And here's my question. When it comes to student questions and how we handle them in terms of this course and how you get answers to your questions, I want to know, what do you feel like you have the right to expect from me? So in terms of expectations, I want to know, what do you expect from me when you ask a question? And I'm going to try and take some notes here. Expectations. Okay, let me check. Look, I'm looking at Zoom. So no expectations?
I'm just assuming the answer will be maybe 24 hours from the email.
So a 24-hour answer to your email. Answer within 24 hours. I like that. Within 24 hours. That's a good one. Anyone else? Another expectation you have of me when it comes to your questions related to this course, or to astronomy or chemistry? No, just kidding. This course. Yes, I see that smile. Provide clarity. Tell me more about that.
For example, I emailed you because I messed it up the last week.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to look at it before you continue to the week 6 assignment. And I just wanted to make sure I was doing everything good. And you assured me that was fine.
But I didn't give you any specifics.
Yeah.
So,
You're like, I'm on the right track.
yeah. And tell me your name.
Ashley.
Ashley, yeah, you sent me, and Ashley did something that I really appreciate, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But what she said, let me move myself out of the way here if I can, so you can see what I'm writing. Ashley said that she wanted clarity. So when she sends me a question, like she did this week, she wanted to know if she's on track with her assignment from week 5 so that she could proceed to week 6 without being in doubt about whether or not she's on track. So, and that's a great question, and I appreciate that. That shows me that you care, that you're taking initiative. That's awesome. That's A student type stuff. The only problem with that is if I did that with every student, if I gave you that kind of specific clarity, it would take a lot of time. So instead of doing that, I promise you, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it in a different way. So we'll talk about that again in just a second. Anyone else? So 2 expectations so far. I'm looking. So Charles says, last time the answer I got was make corrections and resubmit. I was totally confused. So what's your expectation there, Charles? Charles. That's what happened, but I want to know, okay, so Ariel says a straightforward answer. Some professors are very sassy. Am I sassy? Have I been sassy yet? I no good. Okay. That was you, Charles, right? Okay, thanks. I appreciate that. And I think that's a good expectation. So that's under provide clarity, right? Right? Or is that a different expectation? If it is, let's talk about it. So I want to make sure that I understand your expectations of me. Anyone want to clarify what Charles' concern is? Because his complaint or his concern is that he said he was confused, and I just said my response was resubmit. I think I also said I usually say review the instructions and resubmit. But if I didn't say review the instructions, that should have been part of my response. But that resubmit means you missed some things, take another look at it, give it another try, and resubmit it. If you turned your assignment in early, you have no penalty, right? You're getting me saying, you missed a few things. So that's maybe not clear enough, and I'll work on that. But what else? Anything else before we move on? Any other expectations? I'm looking in Zoom.
Do you individually go, like on Fridays, and like individually go, like each project and see, like, oh, they got this wrong, they got this wrong?
Yeah, absolutely.
So then I feel like maybe if like a majority of people are getting something wrong,
Yeah.
oh, like a majority of you are getting it wrong in like this section, so that people know it's like, okay, let me fix it here so then the other things can go a little bit more smoothly.
Yeah, tell me your name, I'm sorry.
Same.
Sane. So Sane says he thinks that, and this I'm going to try to frame this in an expectation because I think it's a great expectation. It's a great comment. So Sane says that since I'm reviewing each assignment every week on Friday, when they're especially the ones that are turned in early, if I'm seeing common mistakes, then I owe it to you. You're expecting me to tell you as a class what are the mistakes that are being made? What are the common mistakes that are being made? That's what you're saying, right? So I'm going to say provide clear instructions on common errors or common mistakes. Is that right, Sane?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's 3 expectations. Going once, any more, speak up now, or forever hold your peace. That's as sassy as I'm going to get today. Maybe not. Any questions here? Any other expectations? Okay, good. So those are your expectations of me. Now I want to talk about my expectations of you. And so one of the expectations I have of you is the same one you have of me. I would appreciate if you're clear when you ask me a question. Telling me you're confused is not a question. Does me no good. Telling me you're struggling with the assignment does me no good. So I'm just going to say clear questions. That's number 1, is be clear. If you ask me a question that's framed in I'm frustrated or I'm confused or I feel like, I'm going to say, that's awesome. And I'm going to put on my Dr. Phil hat and I might just get sassy. It does me no good. I can't help you. Okay. So I need that from you too, right? Clear questions. Does that make sense? Anybody disagree with that? Anybody feel like that's unreasonable? Okay. I'm looking on Zoom. I don't see any problems there. Looks like somebody just disconnected my iPad. Or, oh, it's a call. I put it on what you call it. Okay, maybe we're back. Doesn't look like we're back. Okay. Sorry about that. Can you still hear me? You're not going to be able to see me until I fix that. Let me see if I can fix that. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not looking like we're going to be able to fix that. Okay, so that is my expectation. I don't see any comments there. You guys cool with that? My expectation. Number 2 is I'm going to use the Ashley principle. Ashley. I don't know if that's a good word for it, but when Ashley sent me an email, she had a very good question. It was very clear, and I knew how to answer it. I mean, I knew how to answer her question, but I needed something from Ashley to be able to answer her question, and she gave it to me. Does anybody know what she gave me? When she asked me about her week 5 assignment, because she wanted to make sure that it was complete, accurate, sufficient, so she could move on successfully. I'm looking at the camera, nobody's there. So she could do week 6. What do you think she gave me that helped me do that? Ashley, you know what you gave me. Yeah, the attachment. She gave me her assignment. So now, instead of me having to stop what I'm doing, maybe I'm on my Goldwing motorcycle, maybe I'm, walking my dog Lucy, and she's about to do what she does on her walks, and then I have to do what I have to do when she does, what she has to do. You know what that is? Yeah. So wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, if you send me an email and it doesn't have enough information for me to answer your question, then I have to wait until I get in front of my computer. I have to go into Blackboard. I have to log in. I have to open stuff up. I have to find you. I have to find your assignment. I have to go and dig in, and that ain't going to happen. It just can't. But Ashley made it so easy because she attached her assignment. I opened it up. I think I was on my iPhone. I used my little fingers and zoomed in. And I'm like, you got it, girl. I hope that's not sassy. But it's like, yeah, it looks good. Now, I didn't jump in and fine tune your financial plan because that's not where we are right now. Where we are right now is you're getting the data cards completed. You're taking the data cards, grabbing screenshots, and showing me how you're manipulating your data cards, and that's your assignment. And then you may have some stuff that's out of whack that will become a common question that I'll address. Okay, so that's like the next. So Ashley principle, that means give me what I need. And I'm just going to put attachments. And usually that's going to be your assignment because your assignment has everything that you did. And then if you send me your assignment and you're like, I'm confused, I missed a lot, you said this when you replied, now I don't have to send you an email and say, what did I say when you got a 25 on your assignment? Usually I say this, that, or the other thing, and then I have to ask you, what did you get? So does that make sense? I want you to bring me up to speed as if this is our first conversation about your question. And use an attachment. Usually that means attach your assignment in the email. It's the best way to get me to answer it because I can look at it wherever I am and I can give you a pretty quick answer. But if you make me go into Blackboard, it means I have to wait until I'm in front of my computer, blah, 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 blah. And chances are that email is going to end up in the bottom third of my emails, okay? Hopefully that's a good expectation. So are those good for me? I think those two. Now I have one more expectation. And I didn't spell expectation right. And my Apple Pencil just died. So here we are having technical difficulties. But here's my third, and I'll write it down later. But my expectation is that if I covered it in class like multiple times, you don't have the right to ask me that question by email. And so let's look at a couple of these questions. Like here's the most common question I got this week, and I'm trying not to be sassy, but this is the question. It's behind my writing. So this is a screenshot from the student who asked this question. And by the way, 10 students asked this question. I see a smile saying, what is the smile about?
I can't see anything from here. All it says is budgeting.
So the question is, let's see. The question was, I linked my bank account and still didn't show the same tab you have. Is there any way you could help me? I also wanted to ask about extra credit on figuring out how to screenshot on the computer. So this is what we're looking at right now. You can see that, right, Sane? What does that tell you? If that's your plan and you log into your BayRock financial plan, is that what you see? What do you see that's different than that?
Have a lot more time.
You have a lot more tabs. Now, I'm going to ask the 4 people in front of me right now, why is that? That you have more tabs than this student?
I think it's because you had to create your account earlier, so you can go in.
Yeah, and for 2 weeks, so Obi says, because you had to create your account earlier. If you waited until last week to set up your portal, you are behind. Okay? And I mentioned that for a couple of weeks, and I still got 10 emails. And I'm telling you, those 10 students, each of you, listen to me closely, you should consider dropping the course. Or I would at least ask you if you have considered dropping the course, because you're behind. You're behind because you haven't been keeping up. And that's not a matter of asking me questions or getting good responses. That's a matter of you not doing what the rest of the students are doing. Okay? So my expectation is if you're in that group that's not paying attention, not keeping up, not showing up, you don't have the right to send me questions and emails and ask me to help you do your homework. That's my expectation. I hope that's not too harsh. Hope it's not too unreasonable, but it is what it is, and it is my expectation of you. And it's only a small group of students, and I hate to even bring it up, but again, those students who are in that situation may want to consider dropping the course, taking it again next semester, and showing up and doing the work and staying ahead instead of staying behind. One time again, I want to encourage you guys to do the Friday early assignment, because you get extra points and you get the opportunity to have me provide feedback. And I promise you, Sane, when I see common stuff, I haven't. This week I didn't. This week it was just about, I need help, I'm behind, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, and I'm sorry, that wasn't a priority for me this week. But when I do see common mistakes, I do a tutorial video and I post it. Usually I post it to GroupMe and I post it to Facebook, and sometimes I even send you an announcement. But I'll post it in your course, in your money study group, so that if there are common issues, that's what I'm going to do moving forward. That's why we're having this conversation today. The expectations conversation, I want you to understand how that's going to work moving forward. So yes, I'm going to do my very best to meet your expectations, and I don't think it will be difficult, because I think for most of you, I think you've received pretty clear instructions in terms of the actual instructions in Blackboard. And the reason I say that I'm really confident is because you're doing a fine job. The huge majority of you guys are doing awesome. And I'm sorry we had to spend this much time on a few issues that, frankly, just needed to be clarified in terms of expectations so that everybody's clear, okay? So any other questions? I'm going to go over a couple other questions that, yes, another question, I'm listening. Zoom. Okay, let me show you how to do that real quick. I'm just going to jump into your, I'm going to jump into Right Capital, and I'm going to show you real quick. So I'm going to log in.
But I have a quick thing to say. So like you uploaded that video this past week for like to walk through the assignment. Like I was confused myself. I watched that video and like did like the steps you did in like the video. And for me that was like so much easier, because I was confused for like 2 days, and then whereas I saw that video on Friday, like okay, this is how I need to do it, and it was easy for me to like.
Okay. So Sane is saying that he was also confused, and you're doing great work, Sane. You haven't really looked like you've been confused with anything. But you struggled with this week's assignment because the video came late after you already started working on your assignment. And so the video that I did was helpful, but it came a little too late, right?
No, I mean, I was able to submit it before the 3 p.m. deadline that you have on Friday,
Yeah.
but it's just like for those 2 days before, like Wednesday and Thursday, I just wasn't able to like figure out like what I was doing wrong.
Yeah.
Friday morning when it came around, and I was able to.
So it sounds like, and where did that video show up? Was it in Money Study Group?
Yeah, so it was on Money Study Group. It was on like the homework page.
Okay, on the home. So that helps me help you. I will do my best as we move forward into the technical stuff to give you guys a video inside Money Study Group in advance of, or at least at the same time that I post your assignment. Because I think I told you guys that this semester I'm transferring to a different platform, so I'm in the process of moving and recreating content, and that's what happened for you this week, and so I apologize for that. So the videos are helpful. I'll do a video to show you how to do it. Charles, did you get to see the video that we're talking about right now? Okay, are you in Money Study Group? You're enrolled, I'm assuming. Are you doing the homework stuff in there, looking at it? Okay, so here are the tabs that you should see at this point, all these tabs. If you're not seeing these, it's because my team needs to go in and update your portal. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to go to debt. So you see I'm in the dashboard. I'm in the dashboard. That's the upper tab. And this is Billy's plan. So I'm going to go, and you see there are some lower tabs. I'm going to go to debt. So this is, Charles, to answer your question, is I wanted you to show me your current plan. This is Billy's current plan. It shows, well, actually I need to change some action items for debt. I'm going to refresh. So this should show what you're going to do is you're going to show a before and after. And right now we've got some proposed strategies. So I'm going to say same priority for all debt. This is how it should show up when you log in for the first time. And it's still showing, I'm not sure why this is. Which plan are we on? I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared to do this little demonstration, but I want to show you, Charles, when I say before and after, typically when you come in here, your debt management is going to show that you have a lot of debt and that it's probably going to keep going up. That's your current plan. And then you're going to go down here and you're going to change it, and you're going to see what happens if you change the strategy. And that's when you're going to have this proposed strategy. I'm going to click on, you see how I'm clicking on current and proposed? So you can do the same thing. So now this is the proposed strategy. So this is a bad example because for some reason I can't get Billy's plan. Oh, I know what I did. So let me just show you this. Billy's plan right now is, I'm having technical difficulties. So I'm going to zero this out. So when I zero this out, okay, do you guys see what I'm doing? I'm putting Billy's plan back where it started, and that shows that he's got a lot of debt. Him and Sally have a lot of debt. So Charles, what you would do is you take a screenshot of this. You'd just go, boom, there's a screenshot. I just took a screenshot. I could save that to my files. I could save it to my photos, whatever, but I'm going to save it for later. Just took a screenshot. But then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, okay, Billy, if I'm Billy, this is you, Charles, you're going to say, okay, I think I want to get rid of my debt. So I'm going to add $500 and I'm going to start using an additional $500 to pay off my debt. Now I want to see the proposed. I don't want to see I want to see proposed. So you see what that strategy does for you? That's the screenshot. And you could do, what I would suggest you do is check out all of these strategies and see which one, make sure you hit the refresh button, see which one you like the most, the proposed strategy, which one gives you the best benefit, and go to the next strategy, hit refresh. And all I wanted you to do was show me the screenshot so that I knew you did what I just did. Does that make sense, Charles? Charles? Yep. And if you would have watched the same video Sane watched, you might have known that. So I would encourage you to keep up. The resources that are in Money Study Group are there to help you go through these assignments with the least amount of headache. I know sometimes it's a bit technical. And so again, Sane, to answer your concern and your expectation, what I did last semester and the semester before, and I'm committing to do this semester, especially moving forward, is to put together a tutorial video anytime I see something that appears to not be clear, because it is my job. Your expectation to have clarity from me is absolutely right, and I want to do my best to deliver that. So the weekly tutorials will come if I see that there's a trend and there's some confusion. They may come anyway, but either before the assignment, with the assignment, or after the assignment, you will get weekly tutorial that helps you with these assignments moving forward, because we're going to be working in this financial planning portal throughout the rest of the semester, and your capstone assignment is worth 200 points. So what Ashley did this week was very smart, because she understands that. She understands that every assignment she does builds on the one before it, and so she wanted to make sure her stuff was right, and it was. Now, moving forward, I may be pushing back and saying, hey, you need to go back and tweak this in your plan, because now, this week, that little piece of data matters more than it did 3 weeks ago. Okay? So trust me, follow me, and do keep up with the stuff we're working on in order for me to give you the assistance that you expect. Okay? Okay, back to questions. So I get emails from students regularly. If you turn your assignment in late, you get 1 point. And you may say, that's a ripoff. I did the assignment. You're right, it is a ripoff. But if you turn it in early, you get extra points. If you turn it in late, you get 1 point. And the reason you get 1 point is because I want to look in your Blackboard and see that you did that assignment. If you don't do that assignment, not only do you get a 0 on that week's assignment, but you also get a deduction in your class participation, because you cannot get all 200 points of the class participation if you don't do all the assignments, period. So the answer to your question is no, you can't get, you're not going to get, this was my answer. The student asked if they could get some points. They turned it in. They did a great job, and they did do a great job, but the answer is no. So any questions, comments? Okay. Thank you, by the way, Jose, for answering my difficulty there. I didn't see it until just now, but so here's a good question, but it's one I just didn't get a chance to dive into. This question had to do with a specific issue in the financial plan. I'll just tell you this, we're going to be taking a deeper dive so that you guys can learn how to diagnose your plan a little bit, and I'll show you how to do that, but I just don't think this is the right time, and I'm not certainly, but it's difficult for me to give you that kind of attention on your financial plan in the middle of the week sometimes. So again, in this particular question, the student says, I was just wondering if you had a chance to look at my week 6 assignment that I turned in on Friday. I only asked because I seem to have an issue with the mortgage payment. Okay, so back to the expectations. If I have a minute to answer this question, I want to answer your question. But what do I need from you in this email to answer this question? I mean, what are you asking me? And I don't even know which student this is. I tried to remove all student names. But this is helpful to help all of you understand. If you're going to ask me for help on your assignment or on your plan, I need more information, right? This doesn't tell me specifically what it was. There are no screenshots attached. So I mean, just send me like you're sending it to the tech team and saying, here's my problem, help me fix it. Show me your problem, help me understand specifically what it is. Okay? Any other things you want me to? And then there's one other one that seems to still be an issue for a few students. Two more things, and then we'll move on. One is submitting one PDF. If you're turning in a Word document, this is on pretty much every assignment instructions. 98% of the students in the course get this after the first week. At this point, if you're not turning in a PDF, again, you need to pay attention to the instructions. You need to learn how to follow the instructions. And if you're not able to do that, you need to consider maybe dropping the course, because that's not really, that's a pretty simple question. And so that's the answer. Screenshots are not pictures of your screen. So one of our big goals at the University of Houston at the Bauer College of Business is to help you learn how to communicate more effectively. This is my way of helping you do that. Screenshots are a big part of how we communicate these days. If you want to send an email to somebody, anybody, I don't care who it is, a tech person, somebody that is trying to help you figure something out, you got to know how to do a screenshot. And so pictures of your screen don't count. I mean, some people may not bother with or worry about that, but trust me, there's a difference. And so if you're taking pictures of your screen and sending that as a screenshot, I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining that, why you got deductions, because we've talked about it. And it's now not, it's my expectation that you don't send me an email about that. Okay? Ask a friend, go to Google. Screenshots are so easy. I just took a screenshot. You can do it a lot of ways, but anyway, so that's it. So that was student questions. We're going to get into bargaining and negotiating. It is already a quarter till. Let me just give you a quick overview of what's coming in the next few weeks. By the way, does anybody know why this is the picture we have for bargaining and negotiating? Think about that. Just let that simmer in your brain so you can maybe, if you're on Zoom, or even in the class, you can Google it if you want. Like bargaining and negotiating, why am I using a fish? I'll tell you that in a minute. That's the cliffhanger. But first, let's do a quick review of what's coming. So this week we're doing bargaining and negotiating. Next week, we're going to get into insurance. Insurance is what we call risk management in the financial planning department. And so insurance could be an entire semester. It's probably one of the areas that have the most skills, the most experience is insurance. I was a State Farm agent for many years. I have a lot of letters after my name, and they're all mostly related to insurance. And from a financial planning perspective, insurance or risk management is one of 7 essential elements. So if you became a certified financial planner, you'd have to learn a ton about insurance. I teach it at Rice in their CFP program. I teach insurance. I don't hate it. It's just not a fun class to teach because there's so much information. So we're not going to get through all of that information in 1.5 weeks. But I'm going to carve out 1 week to try to highlight the most important things that I think you need to know about insurance so that you can become an informed consumer. And you're going to do a quote for your car insurance so that you learn how those coverages work. So that's what's coming, not this week, but next week. After that, we're going to jump into investment strategies. And I'm going to teach you 4 investment strategies that are designed to help you manage return and risk. So 4 investment strategies designed to help you maximize your returns in your investments, and they're also designed to help you minimize your risk. 4 investment strategies. I'll tell you what they are just so you can be aware what they are. Number 1 is diversification. Number 2 is asset allocation. Number 3 is dollar cost averaging. I'm hoping you've heard these terms before. And the 4th one is portfolio rebalancing. So those are 4 investment strategies that I'm sure you've heard before, but I'm going to teach them to you 2 weeks from now. Excuse me, I'm going to teach those 4 investment strategies to you in 2 weeks. and I'm going to teach you what you need to know so that you can actually put those 4 investment strategies to work, not just in your financial plan. You will do it in your financial plan, but also, and more importantly, in your life. So when you graduate and you get that job, the job that you want to get after you graduate, on day 1, you will be prepared and you'll have the confidence to know how you're using these 4 investment strategies to set up the perfect investment, which is what you'll learn as well. The perfect investment is your 401k. It's the company match, but you're going to learn how to apply these 4 investment strategies. That's coming in 2 weeks. After that, we're going to focus on tax-advantaged investing, and I'm going to teach you what you need to understand about types of accounts, because types of accounts are critical. They're the key to tax-advantaged investing. So you can have the right investment strategies and you can make a lot of money investing, but if you don't have your money in the right type of account, you could end up costing yourself a lot of money with taxes. So I'm going to teach you how to make those all come together in the next few weeks. And you're going to use your financial plan to see how it works in terms of a trajectory for how it works in your life in terms of accumulating wealth. So that's coming. And then we will be ready for the capstone assignment. We'll spend 2 weeks for the capstone. You'll have 2 weeks to do some work and prepare. And then after the 2 weeks is over, you will submit your capstone assignment, which is an accumulation of everything you've done in this plan each week. So does that make sense? Any questions about what's coming? Your class participation comes in 2 ways. One is you do the assignments. If you're missing assignments and you just don't bother to do them, don't feel bad when I give you deductions off of that 200 points. That's number 1. Class participation, 200 points, do all the assignments. Number 2 is each week I've been asking you to kind of comment on something, and you've done a great job with that. You attach that screenshot to your assignment. And so if you're not getting deductions, if you're getting all the points, 50 points or more, and you're doing all of your assignments, even if you missed one and you only got 1 point by the end of the semester, it's very unlikely that I'm going to tag you with any deduction. You're going to get the full 200 points. So how many points do you need to get an A in this course? I'm trying to write without my Apple Pencil died, and I can't charge it without unplugging my iPad. So I could go to the syllabus here, but I'm not going to spend the time on the syllabus. Maybe I will. There it is. Total points available are 1,000, but you need 950 points to get an A. Okay, so if you look at this little chart, you'll see what's available as far as the points in the course, but 950 points gets you an A. Okay? All right. Any questions about what's coming? So we covered student questions. Hopefully we don't have to do that ever again. And we covered what's coming. Now let's do today's lesson, bargaining and negotiating. Bargaining and negotiating is something that Dave Ramsey used to teach this part of the course. And I don't know how you feel about Dave Ramsey. He's an interesting guy, but he gets more excited about bargaining and negotiating than any other topic I've ever seen him teach. And so it stays part of this course because I've become convinced that it's an important part of your financial success in the future. So anybody figure out what the fish are about? So the fish, it's called, if you Google the term lagniappe, I think it's a French term, lagniappe. It's an interesting term, and what it means is a little extra. So it came from a culture where they traded in the market, and in the fish market, when you went to certain vendors, people who sold fish, they would throw in a little lagniappe. What do you think lagniappe is? If you're buying fish from me and I want you to be a good customer for life, what am I going to do to sweeten the deal for you? Throw in some extra. Exactly. That's what lagniappe is. It's a very interesting and integral part of bargaining and negotiating. If I'm your vendor and I'm selling you fish, the way I bargain with you is I give you a little extra. It's what I think it's something everyone should understand all through life because it matters, and that's why I have a picture of fish to highlight today's lesson as we get started. Aiden, what do you think about the fish? A lagniappe. You look like you're in deep thought, which you always look like you're in deep thought.
It's interesting.
It's interesting. It's a safe answer. So I thought it was interesting. You can see, though, the guy at the fish market or the lady at the fish market, and you're buying fish from them, and you say, I want 20 pounds of, redfish, or 10 pounds or 5 pounds or whatever, and they throw in an extra fish, right? It's like, here, okay, we weighed it, the scale is right, you see they're giving you 20 pounds, and then they look at you and wink or smile or nod or whatever they do to say, I appreciate your business. And they throw an extra fish on. What are you going to do next time you need fish? You're going back to the same person. You're looking for that same person who gave you that extra. So as we jump into this lesson today, and as you do your homework about bargaining and negotiating, I want you to think about this fundamental concept that will affect your life in so many ways, and that is basically just give a little extra. Whether it's, your time, your effort, your energy, your focus, whatever it is you're doing, give a little extra. And that is an important kind of unspoken, powerful part of bargaining and negotiating, because when you show up to bargain and negotiate with anybody who knows you, they're going to know that about you, right? Think about that. I want you to think about that all week as we talk about and learn about bargaining and negotiating. I want you to think about these fish and how they relate to you and how you show up in the world, okay? The fish are important. That's why, and they smell bad. It's true. And they're slimy, and that's going to help you remember them, okay? So now I want to ask you a question. And the folks on Zoom, I want you to chime in and think about this. Ricardo, thank you for answering the question. 950 points gets you an A. If you're turning your assignments in early, you're going to get an A early. And that means you're going to have time to spend more time in your other classes where they're more challenging, more difficult, where you have a final exam. We have no final exam here. We have the capstone. So you'll get those. If you're doing your assignments early, my hope, my goal, my commitment to you is, for all of you A students out there, I do make it easy. If you read the reviews in ratemyprofessors.com, 95% of those comments say it's an easy A. 85% of those comments say it's an easy A if you do your homework. And then about 50% of those comments say it's an easy A, but there's a lot of homework. So again, I think 95% of them say it's an easy A, but then they start to get filtered down with, conditions. Those are the conditions. You got to do your homework. You don't have to show up in class anymore, right? I mean, I'm looking at 4 beautiful faces, but seriously, I'm in class. Where are you? You don't have to show up in class anymore, but you have to do the homework. Okay, so back to bargaining and negotiating. We have 4 people in the room. Usually this works really well with 50 or 100, but I'm going to try to do this with 4. So bargaining and negotiating, for some of us, people like Dave Ramsey, it is a sport. It's something we love to do, something we look forward to doing, something we can't imagine not doing. But then others, people like my wife, they hate bargaining and negotiating. So my question is, for you, which side of the room would you be on? If this side of the room is people like me who love to bargain and negotiate. And this side of the room is like my wife, who really would prefer to never have to bargain or negotiate anything. Which side of the room would you be on? And that goes for you too, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, even though you can't see my face because I'm having technical difficulties.
I prefer not to.
Not to.
No. I'm more of a bargain.
Okay, so yeah, I got the rooms mixed up. Obi's on that side of the room, metaphorically, and Sane's on this side of the room, meaning he would rather be like me. Let's bargain, let's negotiate. What about you guys? You got to vote here.
I would say that I love to bargain and negotiate, especially because I'm an entrepreneurship major, but everything is in a negotiation.
Yeah.
Anytime you buy a house, anytime you're doing anything, it's a negotiation.
So Aiden had a great point. He said, first of all, he does like to bargain and negotiate. He's an entrepreneurial guy. It's part of his nature, but everything is a negotiation. So you're on my side of the class. Ashley, you can't remain quiet. I love your smile.
I guess I'll lean towards the not wanting to.
Yeah.
I feel like I would. It's just a bit scary.
So Ashley, I wish you could see her beautiful smile. She's like my wife, Connie. My wife, Connie, she wouldn't smile so much when she said it. She's just like, no, I don't want to do it. It's awkward. I don't like it. So beautiful. We have a split down the middle, 2 and 2. If you don't count me, I don't count. So now my next question is this. This is where bargaining and negotiating and personal finance come together. And this is, for me, the reason that I'll always teach this in this course, even though it sometimes doesn't really seem like it fits. But this is why it fits. And this question will help you frame it the way I'm trying to frame it. The question is this. 2 sides of the room. The side over here, metaphorically, we'll say on the right side of the room, we love to bargain and negotiate everything, like Aiden said. Everyone on the other side of the room, the metaphorical left, with my wife Connie, who's not here, and Ashley and Obi, and everyone else who selected this side of the room where it's awkward, uncomfortable, not something you really want to do. 2 sides of the room. Here's the question. Let's assume everybody makes the same amount of money. We'll say $100,000 a year. Everybody buys the same package of stuff, whatever that is. Imagine your budget. Internet, housing, gas, groceries. Did I say internet? Wi-Fi. That's internet. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Cable TV, Netflix, whatever. iPhone. So we split the room down the middle. Half the room bargains and negotiates everything like Aiden, and the other half is like my wife. Whatever it costs, I'll just buy it. I'm going to assume that Ashley is thinking at this point, okay, that doesn't sound so great, but yeah, that's what you voted for. So my question is, $100,000 a year is what you make. We don't all spend the same amount of money, but we all buy the same things. What is the percentage of difference in terms of net savings, net cash in the bank from that $100,000 for those of us on this side of the room who bargain and negotiate everything? I know it's a theoretical number. There is no such number. But for the sake of this conversation, I want you to think about what is the percentage of benefit that comes from absolutely looking at everything like a negotiation and bargaining everything. What percentage would you say the entrepreneurial bargain, negotiate everything is going to be ahead of the game with $100,000 annual spend? Aiden.
I'd probably say somewhere between 5 and 15%. Because if you buy a car like regular Msrp, that's $27,000 or whatever.
Yep.
And you can't negotiate. You buy it at 27, but the people who do negotiate buy it at 22 or 23.
Yep.
Because they negotiate. That's $4,000 right there.
So Aiden is I know you can't hear him on Zoom, on that internet thing, the YouTube and the Facebook. But Aiden said he thinks the percentage is between 5 and 15%. He used the example of buying a new car. He even used the word MSRP, which means MSRP. That was one of your quiz questions. What is MSRP?
The manufactured suggested retail price.
Yes, the manufactured suggested retail price. Oh, that's a mouthful. But that doesn't mean that's what they're absolutely going to sell it for, especially when you're buying a car, especially if we're not in this inflationary crazy zone after COVID where you just can't negotiate on a car. It's true. Right now, it's a weird time. All the rules have changed, but it's only for a minute. Most of the time, and I promise you, coming soon to a car dealership near you, a little bargaining and a little negotiation will get you a much better deal on a car. And if we were just dealing with cars, that percentage, that percentage difference would be much greater between the right side of the room and the left side of the room. But Aiden says 5 to 15% overall. Anyone else? I'm looking and no one, never bargain, just have a low price. Not sure what that really means, Harrison, but I see your comment. I don't see anybody giving me a percentage, though. Those people on Zoom, I'll bet you they're watching Netflix. What do you think? They're on Facebook, Netflix. They're not answering the question. I wish I could show the chat. I'm going to figure out. Jose says, nah. Okay, nah. What does nah mean, Jose? I know you're not watching Netflix. Okay, thank you. I knew that about you, Jose. And Charles, I know you're not watching Netflix. Ariel, lots of laughs. Thank you. Who said that? Ariel. I don't typically bargain. Okay, Vanessa. So that means you're not going to give me a percentage? No, you still have to give me a percentage. How much do you think I'm going to be ahead of the game? I keep looking at the camera as if they can see me. Hi, who is this? Oh, I know you're listening, Charles. I was kidding. I was being sassy. Okay, so you don't bargain because you know your worth. Tell me more about that. Okay, so you're thinking of being a seller and the negotiation or bargaining on your side of the table. But my question is right now really if you're bargaining on the other side of the table, not obviously you wouldn't want to be bargaining with yourself or someone who doesn't negotiate because a lot of people don't negotiate. Like if you buy an Apple product, it's probably not going to be all that negotiable. Just like Charles's service to you is not going to be all that negotiable. But most of the time, like if you're buying a car and so many other things that we're going to talk about in a few minutes, my question is what percentage of benefit would you have on a $100,000 spend in a year? How much ahead would you be if you did bargain and negotiate with skills, everything? At least everything that is negotiable. When you run into a Charles, you have to decide whether or not you're going to buy the product or service at the stated price, even though they're not going to negotiate. A lot of people don't negotiate. Like if you go to CarMax, using the car example, do they negotiate? They really don't. I've bought, but they usually have the best. You're not going to find a better deal, and you get a great selection of cars. But even though we're talking about cars, yes, you can negotiate. But if you go to CarMax, they pretty much made it like, no, this is the price, and it's a pretty good price. It's a consignment price. But anyway, so back to the percentage. Harrison says 10%. Thanks, Harrison. Oh, I see 20%, 10%. Okay, I'm looking. 20% is the highest. Ariel says 10 to 20. Thank you, Ariel. And I'm glad you're not watching Netflix, Ariel. Okay, cool. So do we all agree that there is a percentage, even though 97% of the folks who are on Zoom watching on the internet, maybe you're watching on the YouTube or Facebook, post your percentage there. Maybe you're watching this at 1 a.m. in the morning and you're wishing you were participating. Well, you are. Leave a comment. You can't see me making funny faces because you don't have a cam. I don't have a camera. All right. So do we all agree, though, in this room that there is a percentage? Yeah, Aiden.
Wouldn't you say that most of that, whatever it's like 5 to 20%, is negotiating with yourself, though? Like whenever you're buying a product, like is this like a want or a need, or like do I need to spend
Yeah.
$600 on the Apple product? Or
Man, Aiden just brought up to me one of the golden rules about bargaining and negotiating. He said, isn't the reality mostly that you're negotiating with yourself? Like, do you really need this? Or are you buying it to impress someone else? I'm putting words in his mouth. But what I call it, we talked about the culture of consumerism. And the real big expense for most Americans is we buy stuff that we don't really need. And a lot of times we buy stuff to impress people that we don't even know. But Aiden is right. The key, one of the keys, is negotiating with yourself and really filtering down on, do I need this? And what is this going to do to move me forward in my life? What is this purchase or this investment going to do to move me forward in my financial future? And yeah, that's like the golden rule of it's one of them. There are a couple others, but yeah, exactly. So that's really an important piece of the puzzle is, do you need it? So I'm going to scroll down. You guys are going to do, your own research this week. Your homework assignment is going to involve doing a little research, learning a little bit more about bargaining and negotiating. And you're going to watch a video with my friend Ramit Sethi. Ramit? Yeah, Ramit. You guys know who that is? I met him at a conference. He's a good-looking young fellow, the kind of guy I look at and go, I wish I looked like him, but I don't, but it is what it is. But anyway, he did a great job in this in this conference that I went to. It's been a while. But he has a video that I think is viewed like 1 million times, but it's a video about him interviewing someone about how to negotiate for a job interview or a raise. It's a great interview. You're going to watch it and you're going to write your article around what you learned in that video. So it's one of the things that you can negotiate, right? One of the things you'll want to learn how to be, you'll want to learn some skills related to bargaining and negotiating is for your career, for advancement, for raises, for promotions. Because like Aiden said in the beginning, we're always negotiating and bargaining everything. And whether you're on the right side of the room, meaning the correct side of metaphorically the right side of the room, those of us who are always looking for ways to bargain and negotiate, or on the left side of the room with my wife and with Ashley and Obi. If you're on the left side of the room and that just doesn't come naturally to you, my encouragement to you is that you learn a few basic skills for bargaining and negotiating so that you can at least recognize the big things in your life that can move the needle in the context of bargaining and negotiating. So that at least when you sit for an interview, whether it's for a job or a promotion or a raise, you're confident, you're clear, and you know what to say, what to do, and how to do it. And that's really what this lesson is about, what this week is about. It's not just about talking and understanding about bargaining and negotiating. It's about learning the skills that you need to actually do it. And if you know those skills, if you know what to focus on to actually do it, you'll be much more confident. It'll feel a lot less awkward. And most of all, though, you have to see what's in it for you, like everything. And so just thinking about that percentage, that it does move the needle for those of us who do it, hopefully will encourage those of us who don't do it to recognize that, yeah, there's a few things you can do. So you're going to see in your homework assignment that I'm asking you to think about it. I'm asking you to do a little test drive, but I'm also going to share 7 rules, boundaries, and opportunities to negotiate anything. So these are mine. You'll have your own. I'm going to go through these real quick and then we'll be done. If you have any questions, speak up. So one of the things I usually do at this point when we have a full room is I'll make a list on the board of all the things you can and cannot bargain and negotiate. So let's spend just a minute making a quick mental list. What are some things that you know you can bargain over? Aiden already said buying a car, and I think that makes the top 3 list for sure. I think you mentioned buying a house. It absolutely makes the list, although both of those things today are a little difficult to bargain because the supply is so small and the demand is so high. But again, wait a minute and that will change. I promise you. For both of those assets, homes and cars, that will change. Just give it a little time. And those are 2 things you generally can bargain and negotiate. What else can you add to the list of things that you definitely can bargain and negotiate? I'm looking at Zoom, and those of you on Facebook and the YouTube, you can leave a comment as well. Obi.
I'd say something maybe use like on Craigslist or something like that.
Yeah, so if you're buying, in fact, that involves 2 things. Aiden said most of the time you're bargaining with yourself. So I'll just give you an example, Obi. Obi said things that you're buying used on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, whatever. And that's part of the negotiating and bargaining process, is to say, okay, I want this item. Is there a way for me to buy it without paying full price? You're negotiating with yourself. Are you willing to buy a refurbished Apple computer? You can get a discount. That's usually how I buy Apple computers, except this one I'm working with today. This is the most historic MacBook Pro Max ever designed in history. It's got the integrated Max chip, the Pro Max chip, not just the Pro chip. The Pro Max, it's an amazing machine. You can't buy it refurbished. It's hot. It's just like this phone. It's an iPhone 13 Pro Max. And it's exactly. So again, like Aiden said, you're bargaining and negotiating with yourself. You'll notice on my list, practice the discipline of patience, because if you're willing to practice that discipline and wait until next year, you absolutely can get both of these beautiful devices at a lower price, one way or another. So, but again, you said bargain and negotiate. Obi said bargain and negotiate for something used. You can't buy these 2 things used, but I was at the park Sunday, beautiful day. I think it was Sunday, pretty sure. It was a day like today, sunshine, cool, blue sky, beautiful day. And I'm walking, which is what I do for exercise. And this dude is riding a recumbent bicycle. You know what a recumbent bicycle is? Like the pedals are out in front of you and he's laying back. And he keeps going, he's going the opposite way, so I kept seeing him every time we passed. At the end of my walk, he was packing up, getting ready to leave, so I went to chat with him. The bike that I took a picture of it. I should show you the picture. Let me see if I can find the picture. The picture so this is the dude. Do you know what that is? That's a recumbent bicycle. Do you know what that bad boy costs? That's that bike. That's the same bike. It's a Carbon Aero. Now, the one that he had, notice the shifter. These shifters are on the handlebars. But the one that he had, notice his. This bike was epic. I mean, see the shifters? Those are upgrades. And so he bought this bike used. But do you know what it costs new? This is anybody know? Okay, it's all new to me. I didn't even know what a recumbent bike was. I just wanted to know, could I get my big fat butt on that bike and off that bike without killing myself? Because it looks like being on a bicycle while you're sitting in a recliner when he's riding it. I'm like, that is so cool. And so he told me all about it, but he told me how much it cost. $4,800 is what that costs. No, I didn't find one with a price. I did, but I didn't save a screenshot. $4,800 for a flippin' bicycle. But guess what he paid for it? And this is a dude, he told me his name. I'm not going to tell you his name. He's a neighbor. I didn't know him until this day. He lives in one of the big houses on Sunset. I live in a very wealthy neighborhood. I live in a normal house, but I do have an RV in my driveway, which makes me feel pretty special. But this dude, he could have bought the new expensive one, but he did like Obi said, he found one used and he paid $1,700 for a $4,800 machine that is really epic and will last forever if you take care of it. I mean, it's built, for one thing, it's super light. I picked it up and it weighed, I think he said it weighed 17 pounds. It's not aluminum though. So when you're a big boy like me, you don't want an aluminum frame because you'll feel it twist anyway. All that to say, you can bargain and negotiate if you're willing to be patient. So that's one of the things. What else could you bargain and negotiate for? Salary, your job, absolutely. And that's one of the big ticket items that can move the needle for you in your life. That's great. What else? I mean, you're going to spend some time this week on a homework assignment learning some of the tricks of bargaining and negotiating for your salary for your job. What bills? That's pretty general. You can negotiate.
Internet bills.
Internet. How would you negotiate an internet bill?
So I did it like a few weeks ago. I called like customer service and they were trying to charge me like $180. I brought it down to like $100 for the next 2 years.
So Sane said he bargained and negotiated for his internet. I'm assuming it was Comcast. He said, yeah, only reason I know that is because I've done it. And they keep raising my price. They come out with this awesome introductory price, but then after 6 months, they raise it to this ridiculous, high, unreasonable price. But when you call them to negotiate and tell them you're going to go somewhere else, they do what they did for Sane, which is they drop the price back to $100. In fact, I'm using them right now, and I got it down to $50. And it's 200 megabytes per second, up and down. No, I'm sorry, up. No, down. So do you guys know there's a difference between up and down? Download and upload speed? You will if you ever have to do a video and upload it, trust me. These videos that I do are like 2-3 gigabytes. If I'm doing it at home with my Comcast deal, it's like 5 megabytes per second. If I do it here at the office at the Tech Bridge, it's like 1,000 megabytes per second, up and down. So where do you think I spend my time? Anyway, yes, you can negotiate your internet. What else? Just think, so Sane said bills, and then he used internet as an example. But if you just go through all your bills, chances are a lot of them are negotiable, like your phone service. I just got from Verizon, I went to Comcast, and it cut it in a quarter or a third. It cut it to a third. So significant savings. The service is terrible. Not the service, like I get decent service with my phone, but if you ever call customer service, it's terrible. That's what, that's the cost. So what else? Can you negotiate? I'm going to leave it with what Aiden said. Just assume you can negotiate everything. That's number one rule for me, is just assume you can. Now, we could argue about, can you negotiate your tuition at the University of Houston? And yeah, we could say, no, they're not going to negotiate. But then on the other hand, we could say, but you could negotiate a supervisor position where you get free room and board or whatever you get from being a supervisor or an on-campus job. There's lots of things that you can do to negotiate, I'm making air quotes, to negotiate a better deal with the university if you wanted to, if you had the time and the skills to do so. So anyway, that's one of the things. Number two, this is, again, my top 7. You could have your own. But exercise your walkaway muscle. Like I had to do that this week. I saw that bicycle. I said, I really like it. I've got the money in my checking account. I could buy a new one. I went shopping. I can't find a used one. I had to walk away because I ain't spending $4,800 on a bike. But I liked it. I spent an hour shopping for this bike, just dreaming about my big fat butt sitting in a recliner, riding between here and Austin and the M150 or whatever that thing is. I've never done it. Probably never will. We already talked about number 3, the practicing the daily discipline of patience is key. Comparison shopping. And I always like to highlight this one. It builds 3 kinds of muscles. It builds your patience, it builds your walkaway muscle, and it builds your mind. Like when you research and you learn more about whatever it is, like that bicycle, you just get smarter. So research, comparison shopping is important. I'm not going to spend much time talking about cash is king, but remember in the old days when Dave Ramsey taught this, he believed if you waved $100 bills in front of people, they would fall over themselves to sell you something at a huge discount. Do you think that's true? It's not so much true anymore because most places you go, like if you go to Best Buy, they couldn't care less if you got cash. Most people do credit cards or some kind of credit. The point is, purchasing power is king. So if you walk into a car dealership with a check that's a registered, certified check from a lender, that's what I used to do as a State Farm agent. We were number 5 in the nation for car loans, State Farm Bank. And as a State Farm agent, if you wanted to buy a car and you were my customer, I would tell you, come see me first, find the car you want to buy, I'll cut you a check. We'll figure out what's a good price for it. I'll cut you a certified check. You walk into the dealer with that check, and they're more likely to sell it to you than you might imagine, and you'll get a discount because you have the purchasing power in hand. So it's like cash. I'm just saying the green stuff is not the distinction anymore. It's purchasing power. And then finally, not finally, but number 6, silence is golden. One of the things that is hugely easy to do is to, if you're in a negotiation, unless it's with Charles, you just say these words. Did you hear the That was a That's not a word, but just kind of pause and say, that's just not good enough. And then be quiet. Can you do that? You could do that, right? And I'm telling you, if you're working with a customer service person or a salesperson or a car dealer and you like it, now if they know you love it and you can't live without it, this probably won't work so well. So you got to be careful not to communicate that with your eyes and your face and all that, because Ashley, your face is very expressive. If you're buying a car from me or my Harley Davidson motorcycle, when you see it, you're going to love it and you're going to light up like a Christmas tree, and I'm going to know you are not going to negotiate with me because I'm going to take you to the bank, right? Just be careful about that. But just say it's not good enough. I can't do that. That's just not good enough. And then be quiet and see what they have to offer. And that one trick will help you. And then finally, timing. Timing is everything. So that's the last one. Those are just my top 7 keys to negotiating. If you're going to learn some things this week about bargaining and negotiating, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you learn. So any questions, I'll be happy to stay and answer. Otherwise, we're done. Thank you. Thank you guys for your participation. It was kind of fun. Sorry you lost my face on Zoom and Facebook and YouTube. I'll try to get that fixed for the next round, but it's probably actually better for you not to have to see my face. Okay, I'm going to end this one. I'm going to end the stream, and I'm going to end the Zoom meeting. So if you got any questions, speak up.